Welcome back to Ever Ancient, Ever New, the podcast in which we search for the hidden gems amongst the lost treasures of the church. I'm your host, Father Kyle Kowalczyk. I've been talking recently about the Miraculous Medal, and just kind of just growing in my own devotion and understanding of beauty and power. And I wanted to share a story about Alphonse Ratisbonne that not a lot of people know about, but it's just remarkable. So Alphonse was an atheist Jew in the 1800s, mid 1800s. And I should preface it by saying that how I found out about him was I had just shown up at my last parish, Epiphany, and literally just showed up. And this woman walks up to me, and she knew that I wrote plays. I think she had seen some of the plays I'd done at the seminary, and she walks up to me and says, "Father, you have to write a play about Alphonse Ratisbonne." Now, as somebody who writes knows, people will often tell you that you have to write such and such, and you say, "Uh-huh, okay, that's great. Yeah, thank you, appreciate that." And so I said something like that, and then she thrust this book into my hand, old book, and it's the testimony of Alphonse Ratisbonne, his own writing from 100 years ago, 200 years ago. And so I said, okay, so I figured that she would keep pestering me if I didn't at least read it. And so I read it and was like, whoa, she's right. I do need to write a play about this. And so I did. Wrote a little short play. That hasn't haven't produced it or anything like that, but so I've gotten to know Alphonse Center right. 1840-ish. Alphonse Ratisbonne. He's an atheist Jew in France, wealthy family. His brother had converted a number of years ago and became a Catholic priest, and he just hated his brother. It was a betrayal to the family. It was betrayal to his religion, even though Alphonse didn't practice his religion. His whole goal was he was very ethnically Jewish, and he was fighting for the rights of the Jews and this sort of thing. So, 10 years before this, for context, the Blessed Virgin appeared to Saint Catherine Labouré and asked her to make the Miraculous Medal, which eventually she had made. You know, people made, and so already within a decade, these things have circulated all around the world, and there's a lot of miracles happening because of them. So Alphonse, he's traveling. He's taken a year to just travel, and he's traveling all around Europe. And he didn't want to go to Rome. There's a couple places in Italy he wanted to go to. I think maybe Florence, Venice. He wanted to see art, architecture. He really loved this sort of thing, the culture. And but he had to pass through Rome, and he was trying to get out of Rome as quick as he could. But for whatever reason, the boat wasn't leaving, or there was fog in the harbor, or something held up something, and he kept getting stuck in Rome, and his time in Rome got elongated. At one of the events he went to, he ran into a friend of his brother, so also a convert to Catholicism. And he only gave him the time of day because this man lived in Rome and knew the city. And he knew, well, I can at least get a free tour of all the sites if I hang out with this guy. So he kind of humored him and, went with the flow. Well, one night they were having this kind of debate about religion, and it goes back and forth. And this other man, this Catholic convert, he says, "Okay, well, I have a challenge for you." And Alphonse says, "What?" And he says, "I want you to wear this medal." And he hands him a miraculous medal. And Alphonse says, "That's dumb. Why would I do that?" And he says, "Well, because I think it's very powerful, and you think it doesn't do anything. So it's kind of an experiment. It's a scientific investigation. Does it or does it not do anything?" So Alphonse is like, "Fine. I don't believe that it does anything. So I'm happy to wear, your silly amulet around my neck, because it's pointless, and you'll see how pointless it is." So he takes it, puts it on. the friend then gives him a little prayer card that has the Memorare on it, which is the prayer of Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. Remember, O most gracious Virgin Mary, that never was it known that anyone who fled to thy protection, implored to thy help, or sought thy intercession was left unaided. Inspired by this confidence, I fly unto thee, O Virgin of Virgins, my mother. To thee do I come, before thee I stand, sinful and sorrowful, O Mother of the Word incarnate. Despise not my petitions, but in thy mercy hear and answer me. And he said, you have to pray this every day. And Alphonse thought that this was equally a stupid and worthless endeavor, but said, fine, whatever. Well, within a day or so, this prayer is just like lodged in his mind, almost like this festering wound. It's just kind of annoying him, pestering. He can't stop saying it. The metal is just kind of like boring into him. He just feels it. He ends up having this very weird dream that night. And sees the cross or something bizarre that just kind of sets him off, like just puts him on edge. Again, he's like, I need to get out of Rome. Tries to get out of Rome for whatever reason. He can't get out of Rome again. So he meets up with this friend again, who is still adamant on converting him. He's like really intent. And he doesn't just give him the medal, by the way. He's praying for him. He's praying for his conversion. And he goes and talks to other friends of his, spiritual friends. He says, I want you to pray for his conversion. One man that he asked to pray, a very holy soul, he asked him to pray for Alphonse. And then this man ended up dying the next day. I think he was sick as it was. Um, and so he probably continued to pray. Uh, so the morning of the funeral, uh, this man and Alphonse went over to the church. He was gonna tour him around Rome one more time before he had to leave. And he brought him over to this church, Saint Andrea della Fratte, the Saint Andrew of the field or the grove. And little church in Rome, kind of off the beaten path, but not too far away from stuff. And the friend said, well, I got to go to the sacristy. I'm just going to check in on the funeral and see if there's anything I can do. Hang out here and I'll be back in a minute. So Alphonse is like, okay, whatever. And he's just looking. He loves architecture, he loves art. And so he's just kind of like, just looking. It's just a simple church. There's nothing really too much to speak of. And he's looking around. And then, the friend, he's in the sacristy, he's doing his thing. He comes back out and he goes to where he left Alphonse and he's not there. And so he looks around for him. He finds him on the other side of the church, collapsed in a heap on the ground. He's barely conscious. And so he rushes over to him, obviously picks him up, says, what's the matter? Are you okay? What's wrong? And Alphonse says, I need to see a priest. And well, okay, yeah, all right. So he takes him over to the Jesuit priest over at the Church of the Jesu, and he goes in and meets this priest who's never met before, and he just tells him, I need to be baptized. And the friend is bewildered. The priest is like, I don't know. This Jewish guy comes in, says he needs to be baptized. I need a little bit more information. I just don't baptize somebody on the spot. Well, Alphonse goes to explain that as he was walking through the church and looking at the art and at the side altar, the Blessed Virgin appears to him. She doesn't say anything, but instantaneously, Alphonse is aware of not just his sin, but original sin, his defiance, his distance from God, he believes all of a sudden receives the existence of God as a real tangible thing and understands somehow, even though he'd never read any religious books, didn't understand Catholicism, didn't nothing, realizes like, I need baptism. I need to get rid of this sin. I need to be close to God. He understood things like the Trinity and the incarnation and the virgin birth and all these things. So as the priest is examining him, he's like, okay, I mean, I think he's got enough information, knowledge, and desire to be baptized. The friend is just, like exuberant with joy, knowing that this is what he'd been praying for, and Our Lady just came through in this remarkable way. Mind you, this is like 3 days, 3 or 4 days after Alphonse started wearing the miraculous medal. So 9 days later, Alphonse gets baptized. And then it was his desire too. He's like, I want to see the Pope. And he never wanted him, and like he doesn't care about the Pope. But now he's like, I want to see the Pope. And like, well, you can't just see the Pope. Well, somehow Our Lady made that happen too, and he got to see the Pope. So Alphonse, of course, this makes a huge rift in his own relationship with all the rest of his family. They cut him off from the money. His fiancee, they part ways. Of course, he reunites with his brother, who had already converted many years before, and eventually goes on to become a priest with his brother. And the two of them worked and started a religious order dedicated to the evangelization of the Jews in the Holy Land. So that's Alphonse Ratisbonne. That's the miraculous medal, and that was the one of the very first big conversion story. I mean, like within a year. I mean, like everyone in Europe has heard of this story. They know that this is the type of thing that Our Lady wants to do, and I think she really wants to do it in a particular way through the miraculous medal. Saint Maximilian Kolbe, our own patron here, uh, just had such a devotion like this. So he knew of this story as a young man, of course. And then when he was studying in Rome, he would regularly go to this church, St. Andre de la Fratte, still there today. And he would pray. He would pray at that altar at the site where the Blessed Virgin appeared. And when he was ordained, his first mass. So Colby studied in Rome, did all his academic formation, has two doctorates. But when he was ordained, before that, he went and said his first mass at that site. I remember even Bishop Cousins telling me about this church, just saying like that was one of his favorite spots. It's just this peaceful spot in the middle of the hustle and bustle to go. But I didn't remember it when I was in Rome, and I've been to Rome 3 times, and I just didn't remember that. So of course, when I learned of this story and was assigned to St. Maximilian Kolbe, and I was like, oh, I wish I should go to that church. I should have known. I should have listened to Bishop Cousins. I totally blew an opportunity to go to this place of not only the patron saint of my parish, but also this place of Alphonse Ratisbonne's conversion, who I've grown in a fondness and devotion for. Um, well, then somebody sent me a video a while back, and he was talking about the same thing, and Alphonse and Saint Max, and he said, "Little known, this church is more well known for something else." Now, when I was in Rome, I made it a point. I was there for 5 weeks in seminary, and I made it a point to try to just like narrow my focus to Bernini stuff. I mean, it doesn't narrow it a whole lot because Bernini did a whole lot, a lot of the stuff, the Baldacchino in St. Peter's, the the plaza, all the statues on top of the arms of St. Peter out at the front, the facade. And then he made, the sculpture, the marble sculpture of Saint Teresa of Avila in ecstasy, and other things in museums. And so I was just like, I'm going to Bernini things. Well, one of the Bernini specialties is these two angels. There's a bunch of angels on the way to what is it, the castle there in Rome, and they're holding the instruments of the Passion. But those are just the fake ones. Those are kind of we'll keep these outside where they can get rained on. But the real ones are in a church, and I went to see those angels in that church, which just happens to be Saint Andre de la Fratte, which I went there to see angels. Little did I know that this is the place of my patron of my parish, and the place of this conversion. So I have been there. I've been there, and I recommend anybody who goes to Rome. It's actually not too hard to find. I understand, and not too far from the beaten path. So just off the beaten path. But that's it's just a beautiful story, and I think Our Lady wants to continue to do this. St. Max would just hand them to everybody. He'd tell everybody, hand them, give them to Jews and give them to heretics and give them to fallen away Catholics and give them to people atheists. Just give them. Allow the Lord, Our Lady to do what she does, and then pray for them. Pray the Memorare for them. Pray intently for their conversion. He called it his silver bullet. Allowing Our Lady to work. Um, so yeah, I wanted to share that story because I think it's inspiring and beautiful, and just gives us a greater confidence too in the work of evangelization that Our Lady wants us to be about, and it gives us a little in too. I've done this too. I just hand somebody, you're having a conversation. Hey, can I give you something? And you'd be surprised as to how they receive it. I was having this conversation with this fellow the other day, and he's kind of a intimidating guy, big beard, and he comes up to me and squeezes my hand and grips it really hard and kind of goes, "I'm a born again Christian, Father." He was born Catholic, born again Christian, and for a variety of reasons. But he was just like, kept citing the same verse from Romans as if, that was the whole reason that gave credence to his whole faith journey and why he left the church. And nobody taught him about salvation, and the church doesn't teach about salvation. And I said, well, I preach about salvation all the time. And he said, we should meet sometime. Are you scared, Father? And I said, no, because I got Our Lady protecting me. And then I just say, hey, and I handed him a miraculous medal, and he just goes, oh yeah, I used to have one of these. I said, well, good. Now you have another one. She wants to help you be better friends with Jesus. Oh yeah, great. There's this kind of instantaneous change of demeanor. So praying for him, praying for his conversion, and yeah, I hope you'll become an advocate of the miraculous medal as well, and the way we can evangelize with it. That take the make somebody take the Alphonse Ratisbonne challenge. Well, if you don't think it does anything, I think it's very powerful. So let's put your money where your mouth is. All right, that's all I got for today. God bless.